Hello everyone and welcome back to Midnight Horror. I know many of you use these videos to fall asleep, so before you drift off, I'd love it if you could leave a comment letting me know where you're listening from around the world. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're enjoying the episodes. Story 1.
The Forgotten Asylum. The rain hammered against the windshield as Daniel drove down the winding road. His headlights cut through the dense fog, but the darkness pressed in from all sides. He glanced at his phone, the GPS signal flickering. The battery was low. He cursed under his breath. It was supposed to be a simple trip. Drive to the small town, take a few photographs of the abandoned asylum, and leave. A local historian had offered him a generous sum for exclusive images of the place. But now, with the storm growing worse, he wasn't sure if he had made the right decision. As he reached the asylum gates, he stopped the car. The towering iron bars were rusted, slightly open, as if inviting him inside. He stepped out, his boots sinking into the wet ground. The wind howled through the trees, sending a chill down his spine. The asylum stood in the distance, its silhouette jagged against the stormy sky. He hesitated, then pulled out his flashlight. The door of the building was unlocked, creaking open with a long, eerie groan. The air inside was thick with the scent of mildew and decay. His footsteps echoed in the vast, empty lobby. Broken chairs, shattered glass, and old patient files littered the floor. He took out his camera, adjusting the settings. A whisper. He spun around. The beam of his flashlight trembled as he scanned the room. Nothing. Just the wind. He took a deep breath and continued down the hallway. The walls were covered in peeling paint, old medical charts still hanging by rusted nails. He read one of the names, Eleanor Crane. A sudden thud made his heart skip a beat. It came from the room ahead. He swallowed hard and stepped forward. The door was slightly ajar. He pushed it open. Inside, the room was in ruins. An old hospital bed, rusted medical tools, and a shattered mirror. He stepped closer, his reflection distorted in the broken glass. Then, movement. His reflection blinked. Daniel stumbled back, his breath caught in his throat. He turned to run, but the door slammed shut. He pounded on it, his heartbeat thundering in his ears. Then, slowly, he heard the sound of footsteps. Not his own. Someone else was in the room. The whisper came again. Closer this time. Help me. Daniel spun around. A woman stood in the shadows. Her hospital gown was tattered, her skin pale, almost translucent. Her sunken eyes locked onto his. "You shouldn't be here," she murmured. Daniel's voice barely worked. Who are you?" She stepped forward. "I was a patient here." The lights flickered. The walls seemed to close in. Daniel backed against the door, his fingers fumbling for the handle. "This place, it doesn't let people go," she whispered. A deep, guttural growl echoed through the halls. The woman's eyes widened. "He's coming." Daniel's blood turned cold. "Who?" The sound of heavy breathing filled the air. Slow, deliberate footsteps approached from the hallway. The woman backed into the corner, her face contorted in terror. Daniel turned toward the door, yanking it open. The hallway was empty, but the air had changed, thick, suffocating. He ran, his boots echoing against the tiled floor. The lights flickered wildly. The whispers grew louder. "Don't leave. Stay with us. Stay forever." He reached the entrance, pushing against the heavy doors. They wouldn't budge. A scream erupted behind him. He turned, his stomach twisting in fear. The figure stood at the end of the hall. It was tall, impossibly thin, its limbs stretched unnaturally. Its face was covered in darkness, except for two glowing hollow eyes. It let out a low, raspy breath. Daniel's legs refused to move. The thing took a step closer, then another. The whispers turned into wails. The walls cracked. The ceiling trembled. Daniel forced himself to move. He ran toward the side corridor, searching for another exit. The sound of footsteps followed him, faster, closer. He turned a corner, crashing into an old supply closet. His hand scrambled through the darkness, finding an old scalpel. It wasn't much, but it was something. The door creaked open. The figure stood there, watching. Daniel didn't think. He lunged, slashing with the scalpel. It passed through empty air. The figure didn't flinch. Then, darkness. He woke up on the floor, gasping for breath. The asylum was silent. The storm had passed. Sunlight streamed through the cracked windows. His camera lay beside him, untouched. Had it been real? He staggered to his feet, his head pounding. He needed to leave. Now. As he stepped outside, the asylum doors slammed shut behind him. His car was still there, waiting. He climbed in, his hands trembling as he turned the key. The engine roared to life. Relief flooded his chest. He glanced in the rearview mirror. The woman in the hospital gown sat in the back seat. Daniel never screamed. The car door remained shut. The asylum stood, quiet, forgotten, waiting.